That time it worked.
All
Hey,
right,
everybody, I
we're live.
apologize. I had some technical issues. It threw an error on me, and I didn't notice for like the first. We were talking for about, I don't know, a good 5 minutes or so. But
Yeah, you guys
now
missed all
it's
the
good.
exciting stuff. It's all
Yep,
downhill from here.
yep. And thanks for coming, Zenzo, and we'll see you later. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
I apologize, people. I don't know what happened there. It did. It threw an error for the very first time ever. I actually got an error when hitting go live. Okay, so real quick, again, for anybody that's new, the whole first half, Zenzo and I are just going to have a conversation. We won't be looking at the chat. The second half, we'll open it up and to the chat and get some appropriate questions from the chat. And you notice I said appropriate questions, people. Let's keep it nice and clean. Okay, Zenjo. So we've already talked about this, but they missed the
They
first part
missed
of
it, so we'll do it
it.
again.
So let's
Yeah.
do that. You live in San Francisco, but you lived in. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I live in San Francisco. I was born here in San Francisco, lived here for the first few years of my life. Then we lived in Northern California for a while, and then back to the Bay Area, probably like from fifth grade on. Spent a lot of my youth and early adulthood in Sonoma County, which is about an hour north of San Francisco, and lived there, and then came back to San Francisco again as an adult about 12 or so years ago. So, but pretty much lived my entire life in Northern California, although I did live in Southern California for about 2.5 years at one point in time.
Gotcha. And I think you're lucky. It's a beautiful area. There's a lot of beautiful areas around, but that the Bay Area definitely is a beautiful, beautiful place. And anybody that has been able to grow up there, I consider extremely lucky. So beautiful place. Even most of California is incredibly beautiful. Um,
Yeah, I think, well, I've, so in my previous job, I was doing a lot of traveling and I've traveled all over the country for work. I always did enjoy coming back to California. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful areas, but for me, it's the weather where, we don't have to deal with winter. We don't have to deal with, extreme heat in the summer, although we have had some heat waves, obviously, but it's not like, certain parts of the country where it's just super, super hot in the summertime or humid. So it is a very pleasant place to live for sure. There's some pros and cons of of California, of course, which we won't get into, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
do enjoy it.
gotcha. You talked about work just a little bit there. Why don't we start at the very beginning? What was your very first job ever?
Oh
What did
gosh. All right. Very beginning.
you?
My first job, this was back in the 80s as a teenager. I was licking stamps at a real estate office and putting them on mailers and sending those out every day. So uh, that was, it was stuffing envelopes and licking stamps and, sending out the mailers to for the listings or whatever they were. Had a few, odd jobs. Worked for a painter one summer. Was doing exterior painting, prepping, sanding, scraping off paint chips, all that kind of fun stuff. Worked in a hamburger joint, as a high schooler kind of a thing, and then ended up working in the senior living industry, retirement homes, retirement communities, and ended up working in that industry for a long time. And so started off working in back of the house in the kitchen and front of the house, but in the kitchen, learning how to cook and that kind of thing, and kind of ascended through the ranks there, became the manager for that location, and then became like a regional director and then a corporate director. That's when I moved
Wow.
down to Southern California, overseeing all the dining operations for our company. So I did that for a long, long time. That was a big part of my career, was managing both general operations and dining operations, general and dining operations for senior living. And so did that extensively for many, many years, with a little hiatus where I worked for myself. I owned my own motorcycle shop for a while. So motorcycles were always a passion of mine. Done a lot of crazy things in my life, but motorcycles were a passion of mine. And I was racing motorcycles and had an opportunity to own a local motorcycle shop. So ran
Nice.
that for a while, and
Like
then went back to senior living. And
what kind of motorcycles? You said racing, so I'm assuming like
yeah, so
motocross, right?
I was racing road race bikes, like sport
Oh,
bikes.
okay.
So Ducati, Suzuki's, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I was much smaller back then, lighter, right? So I wasn't as heavy as I am now, as that would not work as far
Yeah.
as racing bikes. But
Yeah.
yeah, so career-wise, that's pretty much what I did, and then ended up transitioning to a company called U.S. Foods, U.S. Food Service at the time, which is a broadline food distribution company that serves, well, not serves food, but delivers
Mhm.
food and food-related supplies to pretty much any industry, to restaurants, hotels, universities, healthcare systems, et cetera. And I ran a couple of kind of business parts within that organization for a while. And then most recently, had a great opportunity to
Yes.
leave that industry and kind of follow my passion and make a good living doing it. And so now I work with Corey at Aquarium Co-op.
Yes, and that's awesome. And when he announced that there was a community manager coming, somebody in the chat said it's got to be Tazawa, it's got to be Zenzo, and I was like, yeah, that seems like the best fit. It just does. It feels like a good fit. Now, you talked earlier about having breakfast with Dean this morning. He
Mm-hmm.
was also the chef, right? So, do you guys ever talk a lot about that, about the old days, or
No, not really. I mean,
no?
when he talks about stuff, I can relate because I've worked in kitchens and I know the hustle and bustle. But no, we don't. We usually just talk about fish and
Oh,
other
gotcha.
stuff. Yeah.
More
So
interesting things. Gotcha.
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
sure if that was a common interest, but you sounds like you didn't really do the cooking stuff for too long. That you were upwardly mobile pretty quickly. Um,
Yeah, I didn't do the cooking thing for too long. It was just kind of a stepping stone for me to kind of get into more the managerial side of it. Still in the dining operations, but more so other stuff besides the production of the food.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see, how long has it been with the co-op now? Has it been 4 months?
June 1st. So
Yeah,
three and a half, 3 months or so, little over 3 months, I think.
and that is,
It's the best 3 months of my work career by
yeah,
far. I mean, I
that's good to
really,
hear.
really did enjoy um, owning my motorcycle shop, and there was really great parts of that. But it's also a lot of stress, a lot of liability. I had a bunch of employees under me, so um, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't the same because I'm not having to write payroll like I did then, right? So I wasn't like looking at the numbers every day, like where now. Um, I'm just kind of focused on what I need to do and kind of what we talk about as a team, and it's been really, really enjoyable and a huge transition from what I was doing before.
Yeah,
The corporate life before was it was pretty stressful. So yeah.
gotcha. So, how did you fall into the motorcycle stuff too? Because it's such a big change. So, you were always interested in riding motorcycles. You probably did that a lot as a kid, or
So I started riding motorcycles in high school, and so I had a motorcycle before I could drive a car. So I'd ride my motorcycle to school and park it in the high school parking lot, kind of a thing. And just became kind of a maniac, really. To be candid, I was nuts, and I was young. I was young and
yeah,
stupid, right? So I was doing all these dumb things on motorcycles, and would kind of go from one bike to a faster bike to a faster bike, and um, I ended up wrapping myself around a telephone pole
oh
and ruptured my spleen in a bunch of pieces. Had to get a helicopter flight to the hospital,
wow,
and this was like a street race where I was, winning the race to the bridge, kind of a thing. And after that, in the hospital, I spent the week in a hospital and kind of had a chance to think about what the heck am I doing. And at that time, I was 21 or so. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. I was like, oh, like what am I doing? So um, I said, well, when I get better, I'm going to go racing because that's safer. So ended up racing bikes, and yeah,
gotcha.
it was fun. Yeah.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha. So you did sort of skip over that part of your life, the Marines and such. I didn't know that. Actually, I did know that you were a Marine. Somebody mentioned that the other day. Um, and real
yeah.
quick, the other day somebody also said they had met you. Oh, it was Jess from Maine's Tail Fur and Fins. She met you at
Hmm.
Aquashella in
Hmm.
Orlando, and
Hmm.
she said something that I really like. She said Zenzo is so zen.
Oh yeah.
She said because she said you're very. So I'm trying to put that guy together with this guy
Right.
you're talking about that did all the crazy racing and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you that the Zenzo that you see in front of you now in 2021 has been a lifetime of work, right? Of growing older and I did a lot of crazy things when I was younger. So just real briefly, uh, kind of a wild and crazy kid. Had my normal issues as a teenager. Left home when I was 15. My parents moved to Hawaii. I'm like, I'm not going to Hawaii. I know everything, so I'm staying here.
Yeah.
And just kind of did that whole thing. Finished school here and ended up in the martial arts. I was getting in a lot of fights, some good, some not so good for me. I was like, I need to be better at fighting if I'm going to be fighting all the time. And ended up really just pouring myself into the martial arts and became just infatuated and so focused on it. It was like pretty much everything that I did was about my martial arts. So progressed very well there. I was very athletic, right? And so that helped. Fought in a lot of tournaments, won a lot of tournaments, got my black belt in 1990. I can look on the wall here. 1993, I got my black belt.
Wow.
Fought as a kickboxer, won a state title in 1995 as a kickboxer. So I was doing a lot of those, and a lot of that was kind of helping to uh, expel a lot of the energy that I had. Um, During that time frame, I was also in the Marine Corps. I was in the reserve, so infantry, but reserve, so didn't get shipped off anywhere. It was based here in California. Then I got into, and then kind of all that time, motorcycles were my form of transportation. So when I would go somewhere, I'd hop on my bike. I didn't have a car. I had a car for a brief amount of time, but it was a old '74 Buick. It was a junker, so I was like, I'm just gonna ride the motorcycle, and so basically bikes were just kind of everything that I did and as far as transportation and then uh, kind of lost a little bit of interest in the fighting at one point in time and got a little bit more focus on the motorcycles. And then after I got hurt, I'm like, well, I'm not going to fight again, or if I do, it's going to take me a long time to be able to recover my core, to be able to take any impact from having cut open essentially from here to here. So I'll ride bikes, and that's kind of the end of the fighting, and then the progression of the racing started then. So
Gotcha. So, yeah. See, and I said I wasn't going to look at the chat, but we see our friend Priscilla, Swiss
hmm
Aquatics. Zenzo is one of the most relaxed, calm people I've ever met with incredible discipline. And that's what we see today. You
appreciate
can
that.
see it in your videos. You can see it in your mannerisms when you do the rare live stream, or when you're
hmm
in a video or something. You can just see it in the mannerisms. So I was just having a hard time making that connection. But at the same time, I'm old, but I
Right,
was young. I was young. I did a lot of stupid stuff, and the person I am today, well, really isn't that much different. So, anyways,
right, yeah.
I
Well,
didn't. I didn't learn like you did.
well, there comes a point in time when you just have to, you have kids and all that kind of stuff, and life just you start to have different priorities. I also played semi-pro football. I didn't talk about this. So after the
Oh,
racing, I walked away from racing. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit too dangerous now. I've saw some people get really hurt, and a friend of mine got paralyzed, and I've seen worse before at the racetrack. And my daughter was getting older, and she was like maybe 5 or 6 at a time, and she's starting to be cognizant of people getting hurt at the racetrack, and it was just time. It was just time to walk away, and knew I wasn't going to make like a career out of it. I was like what you would call semi-pro. So a good weekend for me, I might make $1,000, but I probably spent several $100s to make that thousand. So it
yeah,
wasn't really like I was making a living racing motorcycles. I was
yeah,
paying for my habit, kind of a
yeah,
thing, by
yeah.
racing. And I was still, super fit and wanted to challenge myself. I'd never played football in high school because I grew up in the martial arts, and every day after school was going to the martial arts studio. So didn't play football or anything like that. I was a little bit smaller as a kid too, so um, football didn't really appeal to me at that age. And then I was, early mid 30s ish, and said, "Oh, I had some friends playing semi-pro football and a knew some people that played in for the CFL, Canadian Football League. I was like, oh, I could do that, right? And so started working out, training for it, went to a couple tryouts and made a team, and did that for a while as well. Played all the way till the age of 39, if you believe it. So
In the CFL?
no, in a local, like a
Oh, okay.
California league, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That's still
So
pretty cool though.
yeah, so played till I was old, quite old. I was definitely the senior on the team. But
What position did you play to the most?
I played basically it's like a rover position. So it's on defense. It's like an outside linebacker. So if anyone knows football, you have like two main types of defensive packages. You have a 4-3 and a 3-4.
Yeah.
And a 4-3 means 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers, and then the 3-4 is 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. And the 3-4 on the outside, you have your faster, smaller linebackers, not like your traditional big 6'2", 240 linebackers, but more like strong safeties. So outside linebackers in that scheme is going to be catching the running back or rushing the quarterback or covering the flat. And so kind of like a strong safety kind of a thing. It's like a strong safety without having to run so much.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do enjoy football. Actually, behind my head, you can't see it, but there's a.
I see the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then actually, this gentleman is sitting right next to me, right here. I'm going to kill everything here.
Is that Walter Payton?
It is. It is.
Sweetness. Yeah.
Yes, he's my he's a personal hero of mine.
We're aging ourselves here.
just because the man, and I've told this, and people in my streams are probably very tired of hearing it, but he played for 13 years and missed one single game as a running back in the NFL. That's incredible.
Right.
And the day that he broke the record for most yards in a game, he had 104-degree temperature. He had the flu. They call it the flu game. He had 274 or two. I can't remember what the old record was, 274, 275. And with the flu. So anyways, enough about Walter. Walter's always been my hero.
Yeah, he was a great guy to watch for sure. That was I remember watching him all the time back then because being a 49er fan, obviously we had a huge powerhouse team, and then there was the 85 Bears, and it's like, right? So I remember, Yeah,
but you guys had a lot more success afterwards. You went on a tear there, and I mean, and plus you had Montana and Steve Young, and
right. You guys just had McMahon.
It wasn't fair. I love Montana though because he was a Notre Dame guy, and that's where I was born. So Montana was always one of my favorites. He's probably my favorite non-Bear player ever.
Oh wow!
Just loved Montana. He was just a class act. Anyways, so you've done a lot of different stuff. That's a pretty interesting. I mean, that's a lot of different stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm all into fish. Although I've always been into fish, kind of in the background. But I think for me, fish is just kind of that calming impact on my life that I have. Right. So it's just something for me to focus on and tinker with that I really enjoy. It keeps me really mellow and centered, and it just I find that it gives me purpose. I mean, there's a lot of things in my life that give me purpose, but when you have to care for something that really relies on you to take care of it, and if you care about it a lot, then it does kind of give you purpose every day to get up and have fun doing it. So
you want to do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything in there, any one thing that you can sort of point at that sort of started the transition from that crazy wild guy to who you are now? Or was it just a general as you aged type thing?
Yeah, I think it's just with most people, it's kind of a general as you age.
Gotcha.
Teenager, you're crazy. 20s, you're kind of like still doing crazy things, but not as much. Then you have a family and you start to you buy a house and you think about your kids and you're like, oh, like, okay, like,
So
even
really
now,
go ahead.
What's that?
I was going to say it really wasn't the accident because you obviously you said you'd played football and you did all these other things after. So it wasn't the accident. It was just a gradual progression of
aging. It was a progression of going from less and less dangerous things, but still dangerous along the way until I got to a point where I said, okay, my body hurts. It hurts to get up in the morning. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to focus on lifting weights and playing with my fish tanks.
Gotcha.
But even now, like I look at motorcycles. I'm like, oh, I would love to have another motorcycle. Then I think like, where am I going to ride it? I'm not going to race anymore. I'm too old for that. You can't go fast on the street. You're going to hurt yourself. So I kind of, every few months I'm like, oh, I could buy this bike. Oh, don't be
Yeah.
stupid. So,
I
yeah.
was gonna ask. I was gonna ask if you. So when was the last time you rode a bike? Rode a motorcycle?
Last time I rode a motorcycle was 2008.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely been a while.
Yeah,
It's definitely
yeah,
been a while.
yep.
Transition a little bit. You talked about your daughter.
Hmm.
She's currently in college, right?
Correct. I've got two. I've got my daughter in college, and I have a stepdaughter in college now too. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
two grown kids. My daughter is lives in Colorado. She goes to school out there, and then youngest just started as a freshman, but going to school locally, so she lives here at home.
Gotcha.
So
And
one
you've
couldn't
talked.
wait to go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Your turn.
I was just gonna say one couldn't wait to get away, and one's just still doesn't have her driver's license, kind of a thing. So
Gotcha. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. I've got that same thing here at home. I've got three kids, but it's yeah, same type of thing. My youngest doesn't even have his driver's license yet. But you've mentioned them in some of your streams and stuff. That's how I
yeah.
knew about that. And how long have you been married now?
I've been married 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Sort of on the spot there.
That's
And just in
okay.
case your wife was walking by in the hallway or
No,
something.
she's at work, so
Oh, you're safe.
home alone with the puppy. So if you hear any yelping, it's him. But otherwise, yeah.
Oh, what do you have? What kind of puppy?
He's a mini Aussie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's been in one of my videos. He was in one of my videos. Uh, what
I
video
don't
was
think I
it?
saw that one then because I don't remember
I,
seeing it.
I
I
think
love dogs.
he was in a video where Dean was over and we were talking about snails,
Okay. Yep,
whether
I
we
did
like.
see that one.
Yeah, so he's in the very beginning. Um, so yeah,
So I don't normally do this so much, but because you're so involved with the co-op, how you don't have to give me all the details, obviously, but how did that
sure.
happen? Were you friends with Corey and Dean before, and you just sort of felt? Just give me a quick, little encapsulated rundown of how that all
About
occurred.
the relationship with the co-op, sure.
Yeah, how
So
you? Yeah.
yeah, so basically, I was following Aquarium Co-op online 2016, 2017, 2016, right around there, and watching videos and kind of learning things and applying it to stuff that I was doing with my aquariums at the time. And I was up, so my old job, I traveled pretty much every week. I was on an airplane somewhere all over the country, and I used to average about 90 to 100 flights a year. Um,
And did you like that? Did you enjoy that?
Sometimes,
Okay.
but yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of wear and tear. So I happened to be up in Washington for work and had a little bit of time and decided to go to the co-op to check it out. And it just so happened that Corey was there, and he's hardly ever there. And this was at the time when he was, I think, starting to not be at the store so much. And he just happened to be there, and I said, "Hey, I enjoy watching your videos," and talked a little about what I was doing, and shared that I had an aquarium service business here in San Francisco, and um, asked a couple of questions about YouTube. I had 111 subscribers at that time, and this was in early 2017, and he gave me some advice. He said, that I think you should do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and I did everything and started to grow my channel just from the advice that he gave me, and really took it to heart. And then he was down in San Francisco later that summer to speak at the Aquarium Society. He gave a presentation on puffers, so I saw him there. And then I think after that, or the next day or something, he came over to my house and filmed a few of my fish tanks. And I think we went out to dinner that night before, so got to know him a little bit more. And And then just kind of from there, we just started to, uh, can't remember when I would see him again, but every now and then, I'd see him at a show, or we would, somehow communicate, and we just started to kind of grow there. And he would continually give me, feedback and advice, and I would, you know, listen and take notes and apply it to my YouTube. And yeah, we kind of just went from there.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
And I guess I shouldn't have asked that really because I don't want to. I wasn't. We're not here to talk about Corey. We'll get to interview him later, but I wanted to focus. This is all about you, and I guess that was a little
Sure.
bit more. Um, I didn't want to go too far into all that, but I was
No,
just
that's
curious
fine.
how you guys had gotten together, if he had known you before. So it sounds like you guys have had a relationship for quite some time. So that's probably why you fit in so well. You know what to expect. He knows what to expect because it's a great for us. It's great. I've seen the stuff that you're already doing with the
Hmm.
co-op. I've seen and it's just elevating all of us.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
enjoy
I
what I'm
think we
seeing.
have a good relationship, and good chemistry, and I think I understand what it is that he wants, and I think um, well, one of the reasons why he brought me on board is he saw my work ethic, and saw what I was doing beforehand, both in my regular job and with YouTube, and it just looked like a good fit. So
Yeah,
um, yeah, so we have a lot of aspirations. Some things aren't happening for us as quickly as we would like it to, so we're impatiently waiting for things to get done, which are beyond our control right now. But
gotcha.
yeah, we're really excited about the future, and growing the memberships, and growing the online club, and offer some more things to members. So pretty excited about that.
I'm excited as well because
All right.
I am a fan of the co-op. I'll say that. In fact, well, you can see I have some easy greens sitting right there,
Yep.
people.
Yep. There
Uh,
we go.
I do. I've used a lot of the co-op's products, and they were my first one. The first fish tuber that I found, and they sort of were my introduction into the fish fam.
Right.
So I think a lot of people follow that same thing just because they're, it's a huge channel and a lot of good content. So I'm excited to see what's coming up too.
It's
Um,
great.
okay, so again, people, for anybody that's new here, we don't even look at the chat the whole first half, but we're at the first half mark. So now we're going to open it up to the chat. If you've got
All right.
questions for Zenzo, don't hesitate. Let's ask those questions and see anything you'd like to know about them. This is the time. So if you ask questions before, I'm not going to scroll back up. Ask them again.
Yeah,
um,
it's always tough when you have to go back to find the questions.
yeah, and a
I
lot of
always ask
times,
people to when I'm hosting a stream, I always say, put at
yeah,
Tazawa Tanks. It's easier to see. It's probably the same for you, right?
yep,
So,
yep. And I don't even tell them that most time because most of them know. Again, I
hmm.
am seeing most of the usual suspects in here, as I call them. I call them fishy jerks. Fishy jerks. That's what my subscribers I call the fishy jerks. You probably couldn't understand it, but that was what my intros. A friend of mine made that for me. I wanted him to sing the fishy jerks song, but he used my voice instead with some auto tune or whatever he does, and made that little intro for me. So,
Got it.
Ricky, and if you see something in the chat too, don't hesitate. Go ahead. But Ricky
Sure.
RB Animals is asking, "What's your favorite movie or TV show? Are you into that kind
Mm.
of entertainment?"
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so many good movies. I would say Lord of the Rings is probably one of my favorite kind of action sci-fi trilogy.
Yeah, good choice.
And I liked Lord of the Rings more than The Hobbit, but both of those. Um, Trying to think what else. Nothing really comes to mind. TV shows. I don't know. There's so many good TV shows from a lot of the series on HBO, like Game of Thrones as an example, or going way back to The Wire or The Sopranos. I like watching all of those series. Band of Brothers. So I like a lot of those kind of well-written,
Gotcha.
well-filmed TV shows. Not so
Yeah,
much like the sitcoms and that kind of stuff.
yeah. Gotcha. And a lot of people say the golden age of television was, way back, in the '60s or whatever. But I really think today is the golden age of television. I think there's so much content out there now. It's almost overwhelming. There's so much to watch and
Yeah,
see.
it is overwhelming. There's definitely so many avenues for you to get media from, and seems like almost every network has their own pay to play kind of thing now.
Yeah,
Disney Plus and Netflix and
yeah,
Hulu and Amazon Prime and HBO Max, and
yeah,
there's dozens of them,
yeah,
Peacock and all these. It's hard to keep up. There's so many good filmmakers that are now
yeah,
making these either shows or miniseries or movies for these platforms. People have more access to equipment that they didn't way back when. So,
yeah. It's
you could
easier.
spend $10,000-15,000 on, a little cinema camera and a couple lenses and make a film or make a TV show and shoot
Yeah.
it in 4K. And
It's a
yeah,
good
so.
time for people that are into that kind of entertainment, I think. And I think
hmm
I don't know. I think it's going to continue to splinter. But anyways, Barbara Jackson wants to know how your koi are doing.
I have one koi. So Barbara knows. Barbara's actually seen my little pond here. Doing well. It's growing quite large. So I have a 500-gallon plywood pond that I built, and there's one koi in there along with some shabunkins and comets in there, and it's pretty good size now. I don't know. It's easily 14 inches or so, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it's doing well. It's
I
doing
did
well.
like that little pond. Now that's just basically it's like on a little porch or something. It's
Yeah, so my patio is
yeah.
a
I
raised patio. Yeah.
it looks. I remember in one of your videos you were like, "Oh, this just looks horrible," and I was thinking, "What? What looks horrible? It looks great." I don't remember. It was. I think it was like either late last year or something. But you were like, "Oh, this just doesn't look good. I need to redo it." And I was like, "No, it looks great." Um,
Yeah,
oh,
it's been kind of trial and error there. I've had to fix a few things over the years with it, but
gotcha.
yeah, it's fun.
I
Yeah.
just put mine in. Just a little. It's like a 60-gallon altogether. It's just one of those preformed ponds that's in the ground. But
hmm
I got some white cloud
Okay.
minnows in there
Yeah.
and a bunch of other plants. Fish tank barn. Mike would like to know
Yep.
if you've got a holy grail fish that you want to keep but not been able to obtain.
Well, my holy grail fish before a couple of years ago was koi fish, and that was always the fish that I've always been enamored with my whole life and never had a chance to have one. So I have that. Um, there isn't really anything else that's like a must have for me. There are several fish that are kind of nice to haves. Nothing that's necessarily anything, that fantastic, just, certain fish that, look appealing to me. Um, and lately I've been kind of more interested in looking for fish that are a little bit more on the oddball side. So things that aren't your typical community tank fish, or even cichlid tank fish. So that's why I do like things like my mudskippers as an example and my blennies, because it's not a fish that you see very often. And if you see them, you better buy it if you want it, or you're never going to see it again.
Yeah,
And those kind of interest me, but I don't have like I really want an Asian Arowana or I want this. I mean, if they ever became legal and if I had a large enough space, maybe.
yeah,
Um, but even
gotcha.
then, I don't know. I don't know if I'd really want one or not.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's always a hard question. I think. I mean, some people can just I don't see him now. Kevin was in here earlier. He's not asking any questions now, but Kevin Leong, I guess he got one of your mud skippers.
I sold some, yes, this past
Kevin,
weekend or past Friday night.
um, let's see, Zen Ginger. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's stuff going on. I missed a whole bunch of stuff, obviously, in the chat. Um, Dee Dee would like to know: is Zenzo going to jump in some water shirtless if we get so many likes?
We talked about that. I don't know. Maybe, so for those of you that don't know, um, at Corey's property, he has a pond on his property, and he's got koi fish and stuff like that in there. And for a membership drive that we had when I was up at his place doing a live stream. I said if we got 100 new members, I would run and jump into the pond, and we got there, and so I did it. So I don't know what it will take for the next pledge to get me to do something like that, but we'll think of something.
Well, maybe you could
Yeah.
do it in the middle of winter.
Yeah, well, it would have to be a lot more than 100 new members. So
Yeah. Priscilla would like to know how the mud skipper that you got from Colorado is doing. Ask him
still
how that
doing.
mud skipper is that he got. Yeah,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
good.
So the funny story is, mudskippers are hard to find. Um, One, it's a wild caught fish. They don't breed in captivity. It's not a common fish. It's not a fish that a lot of people can keep easily if you don't know, like, make brackish water, have a land spot for it, etc. And then I started making videos about them, and then everyone wanted one, and then people couldn't keep them in stock. So the wholesalers were telling me like, we can't get these anymore. Then of course COVID and everything. Well, I happened to be in Colorado visiting my daughter. This is the end of last summer. I think it was like early September of last year. And I drove there because I wasn't comfortable flying at the time, and because of COVID and everything, and pre vaccines and all that stuff. And my daughter also wanted some of her stuff there, like her guitar and her bicycle and stuff like that. So I
Gotcha.
wasn't going to bring that on an airplane. So I said, well, I'll just drive my truck out there. So when I went out there, I thought, well, you never know, I might find something. I actually had like the Aquarium Co-op Nano USB air pump with me, and
Yeah,
went by Priscilla's store. And what do you know? They had mudskipper. They had one lone Indian mudskipper there that didn't get sold. And so I said, I'll take it. And
nice.
he came back with me the whole 1,250 miles, drove back, and spent 2 nights in the hotel and everything. Is still doing well.
Good, good. I
Yeah.
love that too because I try to do my best to buy all of my stuff from fish fan people.
Mm,
Everything I have just about Aquahuna I buy a lot from, but
hmm.
otherwise, almost everything I have has come from other fish fan members. So I really like hearing that part of it. Um, let's see. Kevin did come in. He says, "What martial arts did you perform?" He's got a
Yes.
two-parter there.
Yeah. So the martial arts that I did was a style called Tung Sudo. It's spelled Tang, but it's pronounced Tung, and it's a Korean style. And a lot of people don't know of it because it's not a commonly known style, but it does have a very famous practitioner who was Chuck Norris.
Oh,
So Chuck Norris, when he was in the military, practiced it in Korea, and then when he came back, he brought it back with him back to the U.S. as well. And so the style that I did was in the same lineage as him. So in fact, he instructed my instructor's instructor. So there would be like pictures of him on the wall and all of them together in
gotcha.
Los Angeles in the 1970s, kind of a thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Medcow says, I hear so much about the Asian arowana. What is the difference between that one and the ones we can buy? Oh, um,
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we can't get them here in the U.S. because they're illegal for us to keep. But I've seen them many times in public aquariums. Um, I think the big difference is appearance. So with the Asian arowana, you have these pretty amazing colors that they've probably been selectively bred for, but you can find them in golds and reds and crossbacks and all these really brilliant looking colors. Their finnage is a little bit different than like the silver arowana that you would see, probably the most common, where you kind of have those long fins, kind of more like a Giardini, the Australian arowana, as far as like just I don't know how to describe it, but the tail is different and their pelvic fins and everything's
gotcha.
different. Um, but I'm not an expert, obviously. But beautiful fish. It's just it's a big fish, right? So unless you have 4, 5, 600-gallon tank that can house a fish that can break a lid and jump out of the tank and like needs to
Yeah,
eat big things and has big wastes, like
yeah,
I just don't envision myself dedicating a tank that size with what I have now, for one
Yeah,
fish with what I
yeah.
have now. Yeah, I'd have to have a different place or something.
I'm with you. I'm all about the community tanks, but here's a good one, and I don't know how in depth you want to go with this one, but Jimmy P's asking. He's not yet a member of the co-op channel.
Hmm.
Can you sell him on why he should join? And I know
Sure.
that that's probably a big long thing. We've got about 15 minutes left, so
Yeah,
uh,
that's okay.
you
Yeah,
know,
I would say it's a huge benefit to join if you want to further your knowledge in the aquarium hobby. The main reason, what you really get more than anything, so right now what you get is you'll get access to member-only content. We're working on a discount right now with aquariumcoop.com, which is still in the works, so we're still waiting on some stuff to happen there as far as the integration. And there's going to be things like in-person events that we'll do and kind of member-only events. But the main thing that you get is you get access to Aquarium Co-op Club. And what that is, it's an online fish club, very much like a fish club that you would have locally, but it's an online fish club that we have for members all around the country and all around the world. And they're able to access the talks that we have put on. And these talks are put on by people that are really the experts in their field and not just someone like me that knows a little bit about fish and has a platform to talk about it, or even someone like Corey who knows a lot about fish and has a platform to talk about it. These people they're PhDs, they're doctors, they're professors, they're biologists that study their specific area, and they give presentations and teach us about it. So our last presentation last month, we had Dr. Eric Thomas on there. He's a professor at a college or university here in California, and he was talking about the toxicity of corridoras and kind of
yeah,
everything there. We had Gian Souza talking about betta breeding, and she's also a biology teacher and took us through all the different genetic more than I can explain.
yeah,
We have a fish veterinarian coming up. We've got just a bunch of people that have traveled the world studying these fish coming up. We have Tom Barr coming up in September. We have one that I find really interesting, which is Dr. Joe Cutler. He studies mormyrids, and he's spent, I don't know, countless months and years going to Africa, studying these fish in the wild, collecting thousands of fishes and studying them. And the mormyrids are like the fish that can communicate electrocommunication, whatever. They can
yeah,
communicate with electricity, like the elephant nose and all those kind of fish. So yeah, really fascinating. So
yeah.
not only you get to get additional content and get certain kind of perks and benefits, and of course a discount that we're working on, but that Aquarium Co-op Club is something that I think is really going to grow, and we've got speakers booked up all the way through next May. So
Nice.
and more to come. Yeah.
And that's what is it? $4.99 a month is the lowest.
It's $4.99 a month. Just make sure
Yeah,
that you don't sign up through your iPhone. So, because then
yeah,
Apple charges an extra $2. But if you,
yeah,
sign up through a PC or, I can sign up with my Mac just, through not on my iOS device.
yeah.
It's yeah, 4.99 a month. So,
And I am a member, and I did watch both of those, and both of those talks that you had. A lot of times, really smart people aren't very good at giving you that intelligence. They're not very good at
mhm,
it. But both of those talks were very, very informative, but also very entertaining. And I was along for the whole thing. I didn't get lost, and I'm not the smartest guy. I was able to. They really dumbed it down, but at the same time, there was a lot of great information there. So
right.
the talks have been awesome so far. I've enjoyed them big time, and to me, that's worth it. All the rest of that though is just icing. I mean, a discount and everything else.
Yeah.
So, how did that go, Jimmy? Was that about what you needed? I
I do
actually
want to
missed. Go
address
ahead.
one thing here because
Yeah,
I'm reading the comments, and
yeah,
Kevin's Canines and Aquatics had mentioned about not liking the Aquarium Co-op channel because Corey's not accessible. So I do want to share that, you know, if you have over 700,000 subscribers, and to tell you, I have access to all the social media platforms, so I can read the comments, I can see the blocked comments, I can read the Instagram messages. There are hundreds and hundreds of these things coming through, and it would be impossible for him to be able to respond to people because of the volume of questions and
Yeah.
comments coming through. So
Yeah.
I would say that if you do want to interact, definitely, in-person events would be one way, and he always makes time to talk to people in person whenever he can. He'll stand there for hours and talk to people. I've seen it. A lot of people that are here in the chat have been part of that. So that's one way. We do have the Aquarium Co-op forum. So we do have a lot of people within the forum that will be able to interact and answer questions, and sometimes he's on there as well.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's why he hires people like me to be that in between, to be able to answer some of the questions or be able to,
Yeah.
find things out for people. So hopefully that addresses your concern. And
Yeah.
yeah, you'd like to be able to just reach out and talk to your favorite YouTuber and have them answer your questions, but it's economy of scale. If there's that many people, it's just not possible. So
Yeah. And a lot of channels do have memberships, um, and a lot of them you're not really seeing much for that membership. But with the co-op one, you really do. And I get what Kevin's saying; it is sort of frustrating, but there's no way that Corey can handle just talking to all those people. It just, he does the best he can, but the in those chats, I mean, I've seen those chats with like 2, 3,000 people in them. How does he answer those? I can't. I do a horrible job with 50 people. I just, I can't even imagine. So, but at least people are getting something for that membership fee. And I
yeah.
didn't mean to turn this into like a co-op sales pitch or anything. Um, but yeah, so many people have questions about
No,
that.
that's
So,
okay. Yeah, we really do recognize that, and we want to make the value of the membership something of value, right? We want
yeah,
it to really be something that people can say, oh, I see the value of me spending $4.99 a month on this versus just being able to chat a sticker or something like that. Maybe that doesn't appeal to people as much.
yeah,
So, and I'll tell you, seeing all the numbers and knowing how much money we generate and knowing how much I cost, uh, we're not doing this to make money.
okay,
This is definitely running at a loss right now. So I just want people to know that this is a big investment financially and as far as a time commitment to bring this out to everybody. And so yeah, that's just want to put that out there.
yeah. And Stephen did, and you said as well, Zenzo, join the co-op forum. And I've had Corey answer questions on the forum myself. I haven't been going there much lately, but there is a huge community on the forum. Lots of people answering questions and stuff. It's a great resource. Um, okay, and I did miss another one way back up here. I just saw it. Oh, Zenzo, what would you like to be your next challenge in the hobby? Do you have anything that you're planning?
Oh,
We got about 10 minutes left.
yeah. Um, I don't know if I really want to challenge myself. I like things, I like things to just be running smoothly and enjoying them. Um, in fact, I'm doing a lot of things to help kind of make things even easier for me. So maybe going away from smaller tanks, doing larger tanks, trying to be able to have more plants and aquariums, things like that, just to kind of help out. But I can't really think of anything that's like a challenge for me. I do like here's a challenge. I want to be able to keep shrimp alive. That's a challenge for me, and I've tried so many times.
Really? The
I've got a
Neos
tank.
or which ones? Any?
Yeah, the red cherries. I can't. So
Really?
like Amanos all day long, they stay alive. It's not an issue as long as they don't climb out of the tank. They're
Yeah.
great. Um,
With
but
super soft water or something or
Well, we have very unusual water. We have the water is high pH and soft. So it's 8.6 out of the tap, but like 30 TDS. So it's like almost RO water, but high pH. It's chloramine. But that
oh,
shouldn't be an issue because I'm able
yeah.
to
Yeah.
keep a lot of hard water fish.
Gotcha.
Obviously, my brackish water tanks are hard water because of the salt and minerals that I put in there. But all my cichlids, my Tanganyikans, my Malawi cichlids, etc., They prefer hard water, and I'm able to do
Yeah.
those just fine. Guppies,
Huh.
other live bears, by adding crushed coral and minerals. But for some reason, I've tried
Shrimp.
in multiple tanks. Shrimp just don't like me. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge. If someone has the magic wand and can help me keep shrimp alive, I've got a perfect tank right here that is ready for shrimp that I just put in a dozen like a month ago, and my last one died about 4 or 5 days ago. So
Maybe they just like the East Coast better because they do.
I
I'm
don't
looking. I've
know.
got a little 5 gallon here that's probably got 50 of them in there. Uh,
Yeah,
I've got them in all my tanks. Just about all the tanks.
yeah, and the funny thing is, there's other people here in San Francisco that have this cherry shrimp, and they're breeding for them and just doing just great. For
Huh.
some reason,
I think everybody has that one thing, though. I think
yeah,
everybody, from what I've heard, again, I'm pretty new to the hobby, but from what I've heard, everybody seems to have one thing that just doesn't do well for them and can do well for their neighbors and everything. Ian wants to know if you have any plans on coming to the Fishtoberfest that's happening. Is that in Portland? I know Kenny from Danikin is very involved. He's like the president of I think it's the GPAS that's putting that on, the Greater Portland Aquarium Society. So I think it's in
what's the
Portland.
date of that? Do we know?
I honestly don't know. Maybe if somebody's in here, I don't know if Zen Ginger is still in here.
There, yeah.
Not sure
So
what happened there too.
October, I have our store event at the Aquarium Co-op, um, October 2nd, and then we're going to be in Florida for the ALA convention and some other
Nice.
stuff. So I've already got 2 trips for October. So and then I know Aquashella falls in there. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to swing that or not. So um, I don't have it on my calendar as a to
Okay.
do. So
It seems like because it's not too far, so maybe somebody from the co-op will be there. Be some representation. It sounds like it's going to be a cool event. He also wants to know what the name of those cool blennies. He always forgets.
it's the Top Hat Blenny. So the Top Hat Blenny, sometimes you'll see them for sale as a freshwater fish, but they're actually do better in brackish water fish. So I started to do some research on them when I got them, and brackish water is really ideal for them. And they can even be in full marine environment. Like any brackish fish, they can tolerate and live in freshwater for a period of time. Um, so sometimes you'll see a fish sold as a freshwater fish that really should be in the brackish, more
Yeah,
in a brackish environment. Um, and they tend to not live as long, probably if they're kept in only freshwater, because they're lacking the minerals that they would get from the brackish water. So
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
brackish water is more for the mineral content, I believe, than the salinity, because the salinity is always changing. It can be 0 to 1.02223 full on marine, depending on the tide and everything. So it could be a river and full of fresh water. Tide comes in, it's full salt water, and then a mixture of both. So um,
Gotcha.
but
That
yeah,
makes sense. That
yeah.
makes sense. The minerals. Priscilla says, "I'll send you some Colorado grown shrimp. They live through
Okay.
everything."
Well, I would love that. I
Oh,
don't, I would feel horrible if they only lived like 2 weeks. So,
she says, I perhaps know someone that can help. Wink, wink." And
okay.
she's talking about her man. Her man lives in California. Barbara Jackson says, "If it makes you feel better, Zenzo, I can't keep shrimp in South Bay water either."
Yeah. So I don't know what it is, but I've probably tried, I think I've tried in like 4 or 5 tanks. Yes, at least 4 tanks for sure. So all different tanks and different time periods over the last probably 4 years. And I finally thought, okay, this time it's going to work. No, it didn't
It's so
work.
frustrating too,
Yeah,
especially
didn't
because you've
work.
been around. You got some experience. You're at least coming close to doing the right things, but it's just not working. What's
Yeah,
that key? What's the key?
yeah,
You
there's
know?
something missing, and
Yeah.
and if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be, and I don't want to like chase a. I don't want what I don't want to do is chase water parameters to, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
To do something, it's going to be too much work. So
we're closing in on the end, and Zenzo does need to get going because Corey does go at 8 o'clock tonight, and he's got some other stuff to do as well. So, real quick, everybody's saying that the Fishtoberfest is October 10th. Jess, Maine Tails Fur and Fin would like to know if you are coming to Aquashella Dallas. You said you're not sure yet, right? You're trying to swing that one.
yeah, currently don't have it scheduled. Probably not, but I'd never say never. Yeah.
Bunny Viper would. She said, "Does Zenzo consider mudskippers a beginner fish? Someone thought they were, but they don't sound that way to me."
I wouldn't say they're a beginner fish. I would say that they are a fish that's good for someone that's kept fish before and understands how to keep aquarium fish healthy. The big difference between a mudskipper and other fish is brackish. So having some salt in there again for that mineral content. It doesn't have to be exact. Brackish water is never exact, and the other thing is they need to have a space land. They need to have
Yeah.
an island or a shelf or something where they can get out of the water easily on their own. So even like those little turtle islands or whatever is fine in an aquarium. So you have to drop the water level. And then the other thing is that they can jump and they
Mm,
could jump out of a tank. So if you have, let's say that you have, I don't know, a 40 breeder and you drop the water level 6 inches to keep a little island in there, you take the lid off to feed the fish, it will jump out of the tank because it's so excited. I've had to catch them on the floor a couple of times, even with like an 8 inch or so gap before because I wasn't, paying attention. So now I always make sure that I've got, enough space to where they can't jump out when I open the lid, or I'm like very carefully open the lid, or it's a way in which they can't get there. So,
gotcha,
but
gotcha.
other than that, I mean, they have a similar behavior to like cichlids, so they can chase each other around and be kind of aggressive with one another, but um, they're super fun. They'll come out to eat, and I've trained mine to eat, and they're all wild caught. And mine will eat flake food, freeze dried food, frozen food, pellets, everything.
Nice,
So yeah.
nice. And was that hard to get them to that point, or was it pretty easy to get them to take to
Um,
send those any foods,
it was
those other?
pretty easy,
Okay,
but I don't know if it's because of the food that I'm feeding. So I'm feeding extreme, and that
yeah,
krill flake is really, really uh, attractive to a lot of fish. And I know that
okay,
other people that breed like wild discus have had trouble getting their wild discus to eat anything besides live foods or frozen foods, and they took to the krill flake. So, but so they learned to eat the krill flake first. Besides the frozen, like the bloodworms and the shrimp and that kind of stuff, they learn to eat the krill flake, and then from there, once I train them to be able to eat off like a piece of styrofoam or a rock or something, then
okay,
I can introduce other foods and they'll go and
gotcha.
eat it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool. Um, is there anything you'd like to say, or anything coming up that you'd like to talk about real quick, and then we'll let you go?
I just want to thank you for having me on the stream. Thanks to everybody for hanging out and asking questions and participating. That's always fun. And yeah, obviously you can find me on my channel. So I've got my own aquarium related YouTube channel called
Yep,
Tazawa Tanks, and try to put out a video every week. I might up that a little bit in the future, but for right now it's once a week. And then you can also find me on Aquarium Co-op, their channel as far as the memberships. So we're doing our live streams once a month with the Co-op Club, and I'll be around at different events as well. So hopefully I will be able to see some of you guys at an upcoming event in person.
that would be awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. So 8 o'clock tonight, Corey has moved his time. He will be going live. I'm not sure if Diego also goes live. I haven't seen him in the chat. Um, but so at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Corey will be going live with his members only. Well, anybody can watch a stream, though, right? You just
Yeah,
can't talk.
it's open to anybody. As far as the chat, it varies. It's sometimes it's
Oh,
opened up to everybody.
okay.
Sometimes it's member only, just kind of depending. So I'm not quite
Gotcha.
sure what the format will be for tonight, but
Okay.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming and hanging
Yeah,
out with
thank
me.
you. It
I knew it
was
was going to be
fun.
a lot of fun. So,
All
hey,
right.
everybody, go check out Zenzo if you haven't. And I can't imagine anybody in here doesn't already
Eh,
know, so, but if you haven't, go check him out. He's got an amazing fish room. And I didn't say that before, but your eye for detail with that fish room really stands out. It looks like a professional studio. I mean, it's so I
well,
have, you can't see all the stuff in here. I have stuff everywhere, but your room
yeah.
is just so,
Well,
organized.
it's designed that way on purpose, and it
Yeah,
wasn't always that way because that
gotcha.
fish room originally was just an overflow for my tanks upstairs. Like, oh, like I'm breeding cichlids, I need another tank to
Gotcha.
hospital tank, a quarantine tank, a fry tank. And then I had 8 tanks, 12 tanks, 16 tanks. But it was just kind of ugly, insulated with like air lines on the ceiling and everything. And then about a year and a half ago or more, Corey and Dean came out and basically just renovated the entire thing. So
Wow.
we just made it look aesthetic
Yeah,
and
it
focus
does.
on audio and made it like a studio so you can film in there from any angle and they can there's nothing in there now, it's just tanks and looks good,
Yeah,
so
it is.
yeah,
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful room.
I
I'm
appreciate it.
every time I see it, I'm just like totally jealous. All right, we gotta let you go. Everybody,
All
thanks so
right,
much for coming, and
thanks
we'll
everyone.
see you next weekend. No, we'll see you Thursday night. Thursday night, 8. Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see.